Hey, now that I have your attention, I have a question for you. Before you got married, were you prepared more for your marriage or for the wedding day? Because most people that I know are more prepared for their wedding day than they are for the marriage. Because most people don't realize that the wedding is an event, it is for the day. Yes, intellectually, we know that. However, it is more important to figure out what your marriage looks like. Discuss what marriage means with one another before you say I do. Because after that wedding day, it takes a whole lot more to be committed to a person until death do you part, for you to literally honor your vows in sickness and health, rich or poor, right? It takes a whole lot for you to honor those vows that you say on your wedding day. And so I want to know, let me know that down in the comment section below, if you were more prepared for the wedding where you sent out all of the wedding invitations. Maybe it was a destination wedding, or and you picked out all of the colors, the tuxedos, the dresses, the bridesmaids dresses, your own dress, your mother and mother-in-law's dress, etc. All of these things were in order, right? You sent out the invitations. Maybe you picked the hall, you picked the church, or wherever it is you decided to get married. You had all of those things in place for the day, but you will ear prepared for the next day when the actual real marriage begins with the spouse that you said I do to the day before. Now, who am I and why should you pay attention to me? My name is Marshawn Olania, and I am a shift relationship strategist where I help Black Christian women that are married or in long-term relationships to stop feeling disconnected and unloved and shift you to feeling heard, understood, and appreciated. Now, I'm going to talk about 10, I'm putting up 5 fingers. I'm going to talk about the 10 things that you should be discussing before and after you get married, because again, many of us are prepared for the wedding and not for the marriage. And so maybe some of these things you have not discussed even after you said your I do's and are now in the real relationship, i.e. the marriage, the day-to-day, the living, the ins and outs, the coming up with ideas. And so the very first thing I want us to think about, if you did not do this, preparing for the marriage includes, but is not limited to, some form of premarital classes or premarital counseling. Now, what this actually does, it should expose you to the ideas or the things that could potentially hold the both of you back, stop all of those constant arguments that could come up. So what you should be getting from premarital counseling is for you to get a bigger picture of what married life is and how to overcome some of the things that you may even be experiencing right now while you're dating or while you're engaged, so you can overcome those things before you get married, before you say I do. However, if you did not do this, then think about going back to get couples counseling. Couples counseling is not bad. Therapy is not bad. It only becomes bad when you put a stigma that it is a bad thing to have to go and speak to someone. Because here's the thing, we go and get educated on everything. So how come we don't take our education and our relationships with our spouses just as serious as our degrees that we're trying to attain for a beautiful career? So if you don't have the knowledge about the career, then you probably don't have the knowledge about the relationship or marriage as well. So go get it from somebody that can help you. It's not a bad thing. Also, coupled with that topic, to say you want to at least talk to someone, especially if you cannot work through an issue all by yourselves. And I don't mean that it always has to be somebody that you have to pay, which brings me to the second point. It could be a trusted couple that is not jaded. So find you a couple that can mentor you and either your spouse or your future spouse. Because They are going to help you get over those challenging times that are absolutely going to come your way. Because if you thought that you had challenging times while you two were dating or engaged before you moved in together, or even after, because let's be real, in this day and age, people move in together before they get married. And so it's still different when the I do's come into place and now you're living as husband and wife and have the same last name in most cases. It's just different. You show up differently. And find you a couple that can mentor you, but get the help that you need. Have the conversations with somebody else that is a third party, that is not a part of your relationship, that they are not emotionally attached to you, where they can really hear, you know what, you actually wrong. It's not just a spouse. You're wrong too. And this is how you can go about fixing that. Do X, Y, and Z, or try these things out. See if it works for you. It's not set in stone, because also understand that what works for one person or couple may not work for your relationship or your marriage. And that's okay. But as long as you are seeking the help that you need in order to overcome the obstacle or obstacles in your relationship or in your marriage, then you have a fighting chance to not be a part of the statistics. For first marriages, it is over 50%. And in the Black community, the first marriage ends in divorce at 56%. That's an even higher rate than the national average. And honestly, the statistics for the divorce rate goes up after each marriage. After the second marriage, it is 66%. And after the third marriage, it is 72% of couples end in divorce. And a lot of it is because we are ill prepared. And I'll talk about a few other reasons in a moment, but I don't want to jump ahead of my information that I hear from you today. So the first one is some type of premarital class or premarital counseling, or number two, a trusted couple / mentor that can, a couple that can mentor you and your spouse. The third thing is to start thinking about the we. Start acting as if it is a we and not an I. I is singular, so one person. We is plural, two people. In this case, your spouse. And so you really have to think about all of the we's that are going to come into play when you're in your relationship. No longer will you be able to just get up and go when you want to. You might have to check in to see what's actually happening for the day, what your spouse needs are, right? It's not all about you when you are now a part of a partnership, and you two should be on one accord, knowing and understanding that you are teammates as well as helpmeets for one another. It's not just the woman is a helpmeet for the man, the man is a helpmeet for the woman as well. We just focus on the part where it says the woman is the helpmeet, but it also, if you continue to read that verse, it actually continues to say that the man is also the helpmeet for the woman. So if you're helping your spouse to get to his destination, he can help you get to your destination, then you two cannot lose. So start thinking and acting as if it is a we, a team, a partnership, and cut out the I. Yes, you are going to have I in individual moments while you are in your relationship, but that is a different video. Think about we. Start acting as we. Start making decisions as we. Big ticket purchases need to be discussed as we. And you can decide together what a big ticket purchase is, what that dollar amount means, and it's like, okay, for instance, it could be $1,000. Anything over $1,000 we need to discuss before you go out and buy that. Before you swipe that credit card or debit card, we need to discuss that. But you guys need to talk about those things. Again, this is a we. This is how you are going to build your financial wealth, which is another point that I'll talk about momentarily. The fourth thing is to talk about what marriage means to the both of you. Literally have the conversation to say, hey, did you grow up in a household where both of your parents were there, or was it a step parent where where you saw them being in a healthy marriage? What does marriage mean to you? What does was it toxic? Was it healthy? Breaking it down so you can get a better understanding of their thought process. Are they okay? Is divorce off the table, or is it an option? Do you just argue, fuss, and fight all the time? Or do you both talk about things in a healthy manner? What does marriage and relationships and communication mean to your spouse or future spouse, as well as what does it mean to you? So talk about what marriage means. Also, number 5 is to talk about what your expectations of a marriage, i.e. your marriage with your spouse, means to the both of you. What are the expectations in your marriage? The things that you can think about. There's always going to be something that's going to come up later on and you're like, didn't talk about that. But if you already have a established healthy communication with your spouse, then it's not going to be an issue for you to bring up something else later on. You are establishing the foundation of what your marriage and life will look like, how you two will create your marriage for you. Not what society says it should look like, not what your parents or guardian says that it should look like, what the both of you actually want. So when you get in there and you're like, ooh, she don't never cook. Well, did you discuss that was an expectation for you? Or are you just assuming that she should know that she should cook? Or vice versa. Because some men really just like to cook and they want to be the person that cooks. But find out what the expectations are for the both of you, what works for you. And this also can be determined at the stage of life that you are in, because if you have a newborn, nobody is in the kitchen all the time. It's just not happening. You could think that it's happening. That is going to be a ruined expectation. So it depends on the stage that you are in life as well. But try to have some conversations about what your expectations are before the pregnancy, if you guys have not had children, during the pregnancy, because that matters as well as after the pregnancy, where now you're growing the family. What does the dynamics, what are the expectations? What does all of that look like for you as you can think about it today? Because things may change later on. But again, you've already opened up the window to have the discussion later on. So what are those expectations of married life to your spouse as well as yourself? Number 7, gender roles. Discuss gender roles. Is it going to be what society say that a man should do in your marriage and what a woman should do in your marriage? Or are the two of you going to come up with what you deem to be helpful and what works in your marriage? It's not across the board. This is your life. This is your marriage, right? So you don't have to go along with what society tells you that women should be doing. Cooking and domestic duties, as well as working outside of the home, rearing the children all by yourself, right? Have the conversation. Have the conversation. Talk about the gender roles in your marriage and what that's going to look like for the two of you. Number 7, most people don't think about this one. Traumas. What traumas have you had? This might be a part of their secrets, and hopefully that they have shared with you by this time. But if they have not, talk about the traumas. And then even more importantly than the trauma itself is what healing has you gone through, or have you gone through? How have you tried to heal the wound so this stuff is not coming up later on in the marriage and actually killing the marriage because you're not talking about it beforehand? This brings about a lot of trust issues and just you not understanding why your spouse is reacting the way he or she is. Why are you coming at me like that? Why are you talking to me like that? Why are you shutting down? Why are you pulling away when I try to hug you, or whatever the case may be? Talk about those traumas, but again, more importantly, talk about how your spouse or future spouse has healed from those traumas, and try to get some help, especially if you guys are already married. But even if you're not married, you need to get your healing, because I truly believe that a lot more marriages would stay together if both parties are already healed before saying I do. But even if not, you have to be willing to go and get your healing. You have to feel your feelings, and then don't stay stuck there. Be willing to get the healing that you need in order to create the foundation and the marriage that you want, so you can be free of all of the junk that was holding you back. So if and when you are bringing beautiful babies into the world, they are not carrying that trauma from one generation to the next, not really realizing the underlying reason why you acting a diggity dog on food. Now your child or children are acting a diggity dog on food because they see it as being normal, because this is what and how you were acting. So now they see it as, oh, well, this is how I'm supposed to act. This is how I'm supposed to respond, because this is how mom did it. This is how dad do it. So why, if it was good for them, why isn't it good for me? No, we need to find a way to heal ourselves so we can be better examples to our child and children. The 8th thing is to discuss money. Absolutely discuss money. Discuss what your credit score is together. Discuss your debts, your loans, your credit card debts. What is actually happening with that? Think about their thought process, because marriages absolutely break up because of finances. Everything might be great in a relationship or marriage. I should really say marriage. Everything may be great in the marriage, but those finances can kill and destroy and turn somebody off. I literally have a couple right now that is going through this currently, and he is ready to walk away because the finances cannot get in order because she's an overspender. And any plan he comes up with to help them both get out of this financial ruin, or to stop to start digging themselves out of the hole, she finds a way to put themselves further and further into the hole. So everything else is great, but he's losing all of his patience, grace, and mercy because you keep doing this stupid thing. So you really want to find out about the thought process, about how they think about money, how they think about their credit, the interest rates, the loans, all of that stuff built in together, so you can start to build generational wealth. You can't build generational wealth with a slew of debt on you. You just can't. You can't. And so if you're a part of a marriage where they're trying to take both of you to the next level, but you keep digging the hole deeper in any area, but specifically finances, this is one of the top 3 reasons why couples end in divorce is finances. One of the next ones is children. Have conversations about children. Children can also lead to a divorce, whether having too many children or not being able to bear children because one party doesn't want it, the other party does, or you two just can't have children together. I know that that's a different conversation because you don't necessarily know if you can't have children together in most cases before you say I do. So that's a different story. However, I get a lot of clients that come to me as well who he didn't want to have no more kids, and now you pissed off 5-7 years later because he's still holding to he don't want to have kids. You didn't listen. He told you that from the beginning. And or men do this too, but I know that it's more where the women are like, he gonna change his mind because I'm gonna show him blah blah blah. Men do it too, but by and large women do it a whole lot more, and then you are hurt. And the only thing you can think about once you wake up and realize he's not changing his mind is all the years that you have given away. And it might even be your childbearing years before you wake up. You got to listen. So discuss the child or children. How many you want. It might not align. And it's best to figure this out before you get married. But even if you already married, you have not had a discussion about children, please do so. I was actually reading Viola Davis's book, Finding Me. And she basically says that one of her prayers for her spouse was for him to already have his child or children so she wouldn't have the pressure put on her, because long story short, she couldn't bear children. And so if he wanted children, more children, she wasn't going to be able to provide that for him. And now they have her and her current husband have actually adopted a child together. But if he was stuck on the woman bearing his actual child, it wasn't going to work for them. So you really have to be open and honest about what you want, and then relay that to your spouse. It really is your, you have to. have to relay this to your spouse. You cannot hold this in and then all of a sudden, guess what? I can't have kids. Or, I tricked you. Don't want them. No, 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 no. Because you need it to be their choice to stay with you. And you don't want that resentment to come into play because you were not truthful. So discuss money, discuss children. And then the 10th and final thing that I want you to discuss is, what does cleaving to your spouse or significant other really mean? You know, in the Bible it says that you're gonna leave your parents and then cleave to your husband or cleave to your spouse. What does that actually mean to you? Because I even get women specifically on this one come to me where they married a mama's boy, and they're literally, they have the last name, of course. They're acting as wife, of course, but they're not getting the preferential treatment as wife because mama is literally there, whether she's physically there or not. When she is there, she takes the front seat in the car. There's no ailments or anything. She just takes the front seat in the car because she thinks she's supposed to. And the wife is sitting in the back seat. Anytime he's angry or pissed off, he gets a chance to run to mama's house. Mama has a big say in their marriage about the choices and the things that should be done in the marriage. So she feels like, I'm really not the wife. I'm really not the wife. So please, please have the conversation. What does cleaving to your spouse really mean before and after you get married? Now, if you need some help with your relationship, I have a free link down in the description box below. It's a free strategy call for us to get on the call for 30 minutes and discuss how I can help you with one strategy to make your marriage or your relationship better. It is bit.ly/help my relationship. Help has a capital H, the rest of it is lowercase. bit.ly/help my relationship. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Again, I'm Marshawn Alanio, and I will talk to you soon.